I can't believe they did it. I can't believe they finally did it. My prayers have been answered. Destroy the Ered Mithrin Bastion. It is no longer needed in this world. For we now have a new power in Middle-earth. Hello everyone, Edain here, and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a very important article to go over. This got released 2 days ago. The Road to Edain 4.8.4, the Dorwinion Tidings Hall. And I actually kind of suspected this was going to happen a few days before it was released, only because on the Edain mod Discord, they were releasing models for human units, which I first thought was a bit peculiar because it said at the top Edain mod Iron Hills, and then I thought a bit more about it, didn't know what to think about it, but then today, the 15th, I checked on Discord again and I saw a new notification saying that this is now official. Dorwinion is arriving and it is supposedly taking the place of the Ered Mithrin Bastion. I'm just going to quickly talk through everything that is going on in this article here, and I'm just going to give my opinion on how I think it is compared to the other Dwarven outposts, because I actually made a post earlier today saying which outpost everyone preferred, and a lot of people actually chose the Ered Mithrin Bastion, which makes me wonder, what is the Edain team planning to do with the Ered Mithrin Bastion afterwards? But again, I'll be getting into all of that later on. First thing, we want to talk about the new stuff. The new interesting stuff, the Dorwinion Tidings Hall, which the Edain team does say they reworked Edain and Lake Town back in 4.7, but they left the Ered Mithrin Bastion mostly untouched, other than a few small tweaks in the mechanics and how it worked, and a visual change, which was appreciated. I liked it, but I had to admit it wasn't what I was expecting compared to Dale and Lake Town. And then there's also the Edain Unchained mod, which added in a brand new hero and a whole new slew of mechanics with him around as well, which honestly for them is great. The Unchained team did a really good job with Ered Mithrin Bastion, but I think this could top not only the Ered Mithrin Bastion, but potentially Dale and Lake Town with its versatility, mainly because of how more modernized it is, with like the heroes and units that they're adding. Because as I said in the ranking videos for Ered and Erebor, the Outpost heroes were a bit below average and needed reworking, I think. But yeah, the Tidings Hall here looks very nice. They didn't actually say they're removing the Bastion. They just don't know what they're doing with it. Well, I don't know what they're doing with it yet. But yeah, they also say the Bastion doesn't offer a hero as well, which leaves for the smallest hero roster in the game. So now there's a new outpost for the Iron Hills with a similar style as Dale and Lake Town in the form of the Dorwinion Tidings Hall. You can see this is what it is like when you first create the Tidings Hall. Obviously, I can't show any other version of it than what the Edain team have shown off, because I've not been giving it anything to show off. So fingers crossed in the future. I would really love to show this off. This looks amazing. But yeah, let's talk about all the different buildings that come with it. I'm going to ignore that because that will be talked about in a moment. And I don't want to take too long because I'm not feeling the best today. We have the Watchman's Barracks, which allows you to make your basic troops, your palace for your more elite troops, and your hero, Aldron. The Watchtower is your defense, which then allows you to make the Bloodorf Memorial, which is a heroic statue effect, grants a lingering buff of armor and damage, and unlocks the decree of chivalric privilege, but we'll go into that in a minute. We then have the Vine Dressers Union, which increases the production of vineyards. You might not know what vineyards are yet. You will soon enough. Then we have the Chamber of Commerce, which allows you to unlock the secondary effects of the Emissary. Again, we'll be talking about the Emissary very soon. There's so much to talk about with this faction, with this new outpost. And then the Wine Cellar, which is your healing fountain, allows healing and a new ability for the Emissary. And then finally, the Festival Square, which increases the resources produced by your vineyards. So, unlike Dale and Lake Town, economical advantage provided by the Tidings Hall is not centered on the outpost itself or by creating trade routes to other settlements. It's instead in creating vineyards, which are an economy building which you build on top of a lumber mill, a currently constructed lumber mill. You can build over it to build this vineyard, which then produces more resources instead of having to wait around for trees to get chopped down. And we also have, once the Titan's Hall reaches level 10, because it has the same progressive leveling up as Dale and Lake Town, which is why it has so many different buildings. But then at level 10, it has the deep-rooted influence. The city has become important in the local area and gathers influence much more easily. Cooldowns incurred from casting one of the Emissary's abilities are reduced by 33%. And now we get to talk about the Emissary, which is, think of him like Denethor, back when he was stuck in the Citadel and couldn't actually leave. It's a thing that can't attack, but doesn't get attacked. It's tied to the Outpost. As long as the Outpost is alive, this is also alive. And it comes with a large roster of abilities, which you only get access to once you have built certain buildings, which I said here, prerequisites to making buildings, but also to getting the abilities for emissaries. So let's have a look at these abilities. So firstly is growing influence. Through trade and politicking, the Dorwinion outpost grows in influence. This influence can then be expended to cast abilities. Once an ability has been cast, all abilities will enter a cooldown that depends on which ability was cast. They don't actually specify on how long the cooldowns are. They all just say short, medium, or long cooldown. I'm sure they're slowly working this through, because this could be in still alpha or beta stage with the with this building. And yeah, a lot of these effects will probably have very long cooldowns because they are really good. Firstly is establish a vineyard, which is, as I said, is how you turn lumber mills into vineyards. Target lumber mill is upgraded to a vineyard of Dorwinion, which produces high resources and can be targeted by loyal defenders, which is the second ability after that. Targeted mine shaft or travel camp, so you can target any settlement, but only lumber mills become vineyards. They become vine marked, however, and can still be targeted by loyal defenders. So if you want to defend them, obviously loyal defenders is what it's all about. Once a Chamber of Commerce has been researched, targeting a vineyard will grant it bonus resource production for 60 seconds. And this has a short cooldown. So if I'm going off of like 60 seconds as a short cooldown, medium cooldown I'd say is about between 2 and 3 minutes, and then long cooldown is between 3 and 5 minutes. If I want to give a timestamp on that without actually knowing how long the times are going to be. But next we have the Loyal Defenders. The Emissary calls the houses of Dorwinion to honour their oath and defend the land. The houses send out their guards, bound by oaths and duty in response. Summon troops at the target Dorwinion outpost banner, vineyard, or vine mark settlement, or Aldron. Once this Chamber of Commerce has been researched, more troops are summoned. Has a short cooldown. Left click on the icon, then left click near a Dorwinion outpost banner, vineyard, vine marks settlement, or Aldron. In fact, you can see that banner there. That is the outpost banner that the summons can come from. So you can defend your own outpost with this, or any settlement, or Aldron himself. You know, that once they've been vine marked. And this is a really nice mechanic because Dorwinion isn't a military state, not like Dale or Lake Town, where they have like a full military force that they use to, well, for one, to fight against in the Battle of Five Armies, but also they have other things to consider as well, where Dorwinion is much more peaceful. They've not really seen war in the same ways as the men further to the west or south in Gondor. So it makes sense that it would be a summon for your units from Dorwinion, which I really like. It gives you the choice to actually go one way or the other. But I'll go more into this before I talk about how their units fully work. So then we have the Decree of Chivalric Privilege. The Emissary empowers the Envoy of Dorwinion with greater political power. Granting him the ability to bypass other nobles and attain his goal. Aldron the Grave temporarily grants nearby Dorwinion troops bonus damage and armor. Once a Chamber of Commerce has been researched, the ability also refreshes Aldron's cooldowns, which we'll talk about Aldron soon. And some of his abilities are really fun to work around, and this has a medium cooldown. Then we have Wine for Steel, which heals units in the target area for 25% of their health. So that is a heal effect, or heal power, in your outpost. Also, Grant, I'm just going to scroll down so I can show you this image as well, because look how beautiful that is. And also grants armor for Dorwinion units for 30 seconds. Specifically Dorwinion units, which I do like, because then it doesn't just force you to... It doesn't let you just build up this Dorwinion outpost and then just make all of your Iron Hills troops still. This actually incentivizes you to make the outpost units. And again, this has a... also, the healing and armor is increased when the Chamber of Commerce has been researched. So yeah, Chamber of Commerce is very important for your Emissary. And then finally, Quiet Accords. The Emissary strikes a bargain with the allies of the enemies of Dorwinion. Again, they don't fight as very much. They are just a state of culture and cultivation. They are not a military state, but they do know how to work their way around certain enemies with their riches and wine. Mark the target area as a peace zone for 40 seconds. Enemy units in the peace zone lose 40% damage, and summoned units take continuous damage. So, to take that into effect, continuous damage from summoned units. If we're taking, like, the fiefdoms out of that equation, because they technically are summoned, but they're also recruiters, so we'll take that out of it. So, summons through powers and abilities. The veterans of Osgiliath, the entire army of Rohan, army of the dead, even. All those summons are going to be taking continuous damage through inside that peace zone. And once the Chamber of Commerce has been researched, the peace zone will last longer. So from 40 seconds, it could be 2 minutes. I don't know. Again, it's whatever will be. We only know what we know from here. And that is the long cooldown. And again, take note from the very beginning, all of these abilities share one cooldown. So you use one, all the others get blocked off, which I really like. I wish they would do they would do more of this in the future, because it gives more diversity in what you can do. And I hope Dale and Lake Town get something similar to this as well, especially Lake Town, because the Master is just sat there in the main center of Lake Town, just waving his hand and eating his eating whatever's thrown in front of his plate. And yeah, each of them obviously is quite powerful in the vacuum, but obviously they share their cooldown. Very powerful economy tool in getting getting vineyards from lumber mills. Once lumber mills no longer have trees to get, or your lumbermen keep getting sniped or ran over by cavalry. Loyal defenders is your primary method of recruiting more troops, and is the only way to obtain standard troops. So yes, you can't even recruit basic troops from Dorwinion. You don't get the ringing of the bells to summon a bunch of Lake Town troops. You don't have Dale's fast-moving recruits. You instead have just basically hired mercenaries for a short amount of time, but you can make them permanent through the hero Aldron the Grave, which we'll be talking about in a moment. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. And yeah, obviously the killing box that your enemies will be desperate to leave will be from the Quiet Accords. But another thing to note about that is that the Iron Hills works amazingly with damage negation. So this is a beautifully orchestrated ability for this faction, because it works in with all the others. You can actually reduce enemies' damage to 0 in that Quiet Accords safe zone, turning Army of the Dead one of the most terrifying powers in the game for its ability to just mop over any army, regardless of what they're capable of, and just turn it into an army that just slowly dies again. And yeah, the Emissary provides multiple interesting gameplay possibilities to support the faction. You can decide to focus on economic aspect, boosting your vineyards, with Vinedressers Union, Chamber of Commerce, and Festival Square first, or you can create an army of Dorwinion troops by going for the Barracks, Palace, and Chamber of Commerce. You can also decide to support your Dwarven allies by going for Wine Cellar, Palace, and Chamber of Commerce. Again, the Chamber of Commerce is like the primary building you need to make all these abilities stronger. Which is why it is, if I go back up here, it's one of the last buildings you can get, and requires the Vinedressers Union first. Which, obviously, because it's so far back, it could be that it is one of the last buildings you can build. But I think it's going to be Watchman Barracks, Watchtower, Vinedressers Union, and Wine Cellar are the 4 buildings you can start by building, and then all the other buildings can be built after you've built the first one, similar to Dale and Lake Town. to some degree. Some of the buildings you only can get at the very end, like the Wind Lance. Anyway, now we come to the new hero, Aldron the Grave, which, if I was to rank him from what I've read and what the Dorwinion troops are capable of and Dorwinion Outpost is capable of, I'd rank him a solid B, bordering on A, depending on how strong this all is, because he seems really good. But they do say that he is a melee-focused hero, so instead of the range focus of Bard or the sword and board / bow of Brand, we have a fully fledged melee hero who is a little bit more expensive and requires the palace to be built. So you have to have your building for more elite men of Dorwinion. But he does pack an extra punch in exchange, and it really shows in this. So first we have the General of Dorwinion at level 1. Outron the Grave was sent to oversee the efforts of Dorwinion in these lands and can take command of all its forces if necessary. Aldron can be targeted by loyal defenders, so summon units of Dorwinion in this vicinity can be upgraded with orders of the General to become permanent units. So if you want a temporary unit to defend the building, you go with doing it on any of your buildings. If you want permanent units, you summon him on Aldron. And obviously, if you have the right buildings built up, those loyal defenders there'll be more of them. So then you can just pay for them to be even more useful in that area. However, do note that it does say, when a decree of chivalric privilege is active, nearby Dorwinion units gain bonus damage and armor. That was always the thing. No, it doesn't say it here yet. It says it at the bottom here. I'll go to that later. Then we have a riposte. For 30 seconds, it gains bonus armor and slows its targets. Again, armor gain, which is another very big Iron Hills mechanic. Lots of armor and lots of damage dampening effects. So he is a very front-heavy hero who's actually kind of a tank with riposte, actually. He might be considered a tank unit support if I was to give him a classing as well. Then we have Blessing of the Vine. Aldron bestows a blessing upon his allies, granting them increased vigor and strength. Allied units in the target area permanently gain bonus health. Bonus of 25% health. It doesn't stack, obviously, because that would be ridiculous. But being able to give units in an area permanent health is the same as giving them a heavy armor buff without the change to their armor class, which is still insane. That is an insane buff because, again, it works so well with the Iron Hills having massive health pools. So that extra 25% is going to go even further than it would with Erebor or Iron Hills, Ered Mithrin even. With Iron Hills, it goes that extra step above, and with Ram Riders, the Iron Hills might become my #1 favorite dwarf faction after this. Ered Mithrin, you better watch out. Because then we have the Fist of Dorwinion. The protection of the interests of Dorwinion sometimes require not just political pressure, but military power. He summoned 2 units of the Purple Guard that are affected by General of Dorwinion, which is obviously his bonus damage and armor if you've got the chivalric privilege ability active, and might also be required to make them permanent, which is important. And the Purple Guard, I'm assuming, are meant to be their elite troop, so similar to the other elite troops of other factions. I don't know why I try to go too far into that. And then finally we have Chivalric Challenge. Aldron challenges all nearby enemies to a duel. Those who refuse and try to escape are punished. Aldron marks a nearby area as an arena. Any enemy trying to enter or leave the area will be knocked back. If Aldron dies, the area is disbanded. But left click to activate, and then an aura around him will then constantly knock enemies around. It's a better version of the Vengeance of the Huorns. And why am I saying this? Because 1, you don't have to waste 10 power points to get it. You only need to buy 1 hero and get him to level 10. 2, it can be used on any location. Doesn't require to click and then click somewhere else on an open field. If you're doing this in a choke point, you are stopping enemies from escaping. You use the peace treaty effect from Quiet Accords. That's going to mean they can't really escape without without dealing no damage and getting knocked back in the process. On top of everything else the dwarves can do. Oh, this hero sounds amazing. I'm only going to say sounds because again, this is all only at the moment on paper or on the screen. This is none of this is something I can prove is going to be good or not. I can only say it looks good or if it looks bad, depending on how it looks, and it looks so good. Anyway, another thing to notice about the level 1 ability is you do have to pay for the permanent unit keep on your Dorwinion troops, but you do fully replenish their health and numbers. So think of it as using the Traits of Rohan ability on peasants, but the other way around. Temporary units becoming permanent units. Which is a running theme they've done now. They've got, well, I say a running theme of just that. There's peasants and traitors. There's the Hillmen of Dunland, the Wildmen of Dunland even, becoming pikemen through Wolfgar. And then there's the Turncoats of Arnor becoming permanent units if they gain enough experience to become level 2. But yeah, I really like, and yeah, it even functions with a sort of miniature Huorn summon. I honestly did not read that before I talked about that. I honestly did not. That's just what came off the top of my head immediately. And yeah, again, combined with Emissary's Quiet Accords creates an inescapable killing box, which is exactly what the Iron Hills is really good at doing, if they have all that power behind them. And then obviously we have the units of Dorwinion, which we haven't shown off yet, because again, I've not got the images here, but I do have the images elsewhere on this page. I'll be showing them off in a second, but let's just go over them quickly. There's the Vineyard Watchman, a standard 15-men archer, contemporary fire tipped arrows to poison and slow their targets. Slowing is the main thing about that. The poison, don't really care about, because I don't really get a lot out of the DOT effects from Edain, well, Balthmilith in general. But yeah, the slow is impactful because, again, we're dwarves. We're slow dwarves. Slowing the enemy gets them down to our level, makes it really easy to catch them. Then we have the Vintner Court Guards, a 15-unit swordsman, gains movement speed after attacking, which I really like. Only summonable through Loyal Defenders, along with the Vineyard Watchman. Then we have the Bedorfin Oathsworn, elite 10-man pikeman, contemporarily take up a formation that boosts their defense and nearby units' attack. Recruitable from the Tidings Hall after the palace has been constructed. This is the only unit you can actually make from the building. Your basic units can only be coming from the Loyal Defenders ability. So they're a temporary summon, which can become a permanent unit near your hero. And then we have the Purple Guard, an elite 10-men swordsman, replenishes troops while near Aldron, and then only summoned from Aldron. I really like the fact that they can be replenished while near him. That sounds really good. Yeah, similar to the Dale Outpost, the Outpost offers 2 standard and an elite unit, but an elite pikeman this time. Each of the units have an ability that provides some utility without putting them in direct competition with the heavy-hitting dwarf units. And I have to say, I think I like these the most out of all of the dwarf outposts units. I think I really like these the most. Not because there's just one extra from Aldron, but their abilities seem really good. Slowing enemies, speeding yourself up, and sorry, again, not feeling the best right now, but also buffing nearby units' attacks at the detriment of your own is fine. That's really good. I really like this. I like this a lot, and I'm now going to show you the images if they are on here. We have the militia. So this is the archer that can shoot poison arrows. Then that's the Vineyard Watchman, or the actually no, yeah, it's the same one. The Vineyard Watchman. That's the defenders of the vineyards. And then there's the Vintner Court Guard, your basic swordsman. So yeah, I'm really excited for this. I'm really excited for everything that is coming from this. I hope you all are as well. I'm not going to lie, I almost completely forgot to talk about all the other stuff I wanted to talk about. I'm not feeling the best today. I've already said that. Anyway, comparing this to Dale and Lake Town. Buildings-wise, I think it's very thematic. it doesn't copy off of what Lake Town does, which is meant to be more of a concentrated hub that you will always come back to through the mine network because it has the unassuming docks. It's not like Dale, which has the merchants going out and claiming money from other settlements, and then those roads that they're going through are then an extra way of going from place to place faster. It's not got instant access to all your military power, as I already mentioned earlier, and the hero feels a lot more centered around what the faction's best at doing, where compared to Brand and Bard, I do feel like both of them need some fine-tuning to one way or another. And I think once that's been looked at, I think they will all be at a very good position. All of the dwarf outposts are amazing right now. If all this goes through and it is as good as it looks like it is, I honestly will never know what to do with as players in any of the dwarves. They're all really good. Each of them has their own strengths and weaknesses, obviously. With like the dwarves not having an official scout hero, with Iron Hills not having an official scout hero, Erebor's heroes can sometimes be very easily overlooked, and Ered Luin is a bit more difficult if you don't know how to use all their mechanics in the way that they've been fashioned. Each of the factions has a lot to offer, and the dwarves have always been one of the most well done factions because of the fact there's 3 separate factions all bundled into one. It's so good. And I have to thank the Edain team for bringing this to light. And one last thing, what I think they're going to do with the Ered Mithrin Bastion is one of 2 things. One, they're going to keep it. They're going to let the Iron Hills have 2 unique outposts. But what I think is more likely going to happen is that they're going to change one of the tier 4 powers. The Summon Citadel, I think, will now be changed to Summon Ered Mithrin Bastion. That is what I think they're going to do with it. It's a far stretch. It might not actually happen. But what I want to see happen is, similar to what the Edain Unchained team did with the Dwarf Citadel, is make it more of a defensive building. Have it be able to be built only close to a fortress. And then you build it up over time. You have all these upgrades, for example, making all your other summon buildings stronger, your settlement stronger. You then have this new half-elite infantry that can move fast. You've got the spear throwers, you've got the dragon slayers, because a lot of people do like the Ered Mithrin Bastion. I don't understand why, entirely, but things like the mighty catapults is so iconic in Battle for Middle-earth in general that I feel like if they want to keep it, they either keep it in Iron Hills as it is, and they just have this new Dorwinion Tidings Hall, like what they did to Isengard. They just gave Isengard a whole new outpost. But in my heart of hearts, I want to see the Ered Mithrin Bastion just be added to all the other factions as a power. It's absolutely insane to think about it, but as I was reading through, I was thinking, are they really just going to let the Iron Hills have this one extra outpost? They could add it to all of them. They could add the Ered Mithrin Bastion to all 3 factions, which would also be acceptable as a third outpost. But honestly, I hope in my heart of hearts that they bring it out as a power replacing the original Citadel and making it the Ered Mithrin Bastion. Anyway, that is everything for today. Hope you're all excited, and I'll see you on the next one. Farewell.